Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This one comes from Xavier Morris. Your good Canadian boy is at it again, John. Just saw that in an interview promoting Avatar: The Way of Water, James Cameron couldn't resist slamming Marvel again, saying that effects in his movie are superior to anything Marvel is doing. And he said Thanos doesn't even come close to the effects of the Navi in Avatar. Why do you think he keeps making these comments? Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for writing that in, Xavier. And look, my good Canadian kid, James Cameron, he who never fails, does nothing but crank out the biggest hits the world has ever seen, just succeeds in almost every genre he touches. He's amazing, but he has had a history of late saying some really stupid things. Things that were unnecessary for him to say, whatever, particularly targeting comic book movies that just come across as a wee bit of a spot of jealousy tea, if you will. That's the way it's come across. Now, of course, there's some new headlines going around about him slamming Marvel again. But he didn't really. No. He actually really didn't. I get it. I've seen the headlines, all that kind of stuff, but he really didn't slam Marvel at all. As a matter of fact, at the beginning of the interview in question, he actually starts off the interview by saying, now, before we get going, I just want you to know, I'm not going to say one negative thing about Marvel or DC films. I love those movies. Now let's proceed. He actually made sure he said that at the beginning, which I thought was refreshingly self-aware of him to do.
Yeah. Now,
they then did ask him about comic book movies. And they did ask him about the fact that so much visual effects work is being done in so many comic book movies. And that's the context of the comment. Now, this is what he then said. This comes from the folks over at Variety, who wrote the following. A reporter, Brandon Davis, who's very good, asked Cameron if any of the visual effects breakthroughs coming out of Marvel movies and the comic book movie world have motivated him to raise the bar. To which James Cameron responded, obviously, the big comic book films have been driving the sheer volume of the industry. The rising tide of technique raises everybody together. It gives you higher quality artists, more tools and plugins and code to use. You've got more talented people writing code out there. So it improves everything. That said, Weta effects, as it's now called, is the best, right? Industrial Light and Magic does great work, but when it comes to the kind of emotive facial stuff that we're doing, Thanos, come on, give me a break. You saw Avatar: The Way of Water, not even close. It's what Weta did. Okay. Now, I can understand the sexiness of the headline to say, James Cameron slams Marvel. Well, there was nothing insulting in there at all. He's actually saying, you know what? The comic book movie industry has raised the bar. It's pushing the limits of visual effects. It's creating more artists involved in there, smarter people writing code, all these things. And it's the rising tide raises all ships. It's helping the whole industry. Now, he did say that what Weta has done as far as facial emotive effects, because I still personally think Industrial Light and Magic is still the gold standard. But he was talking about something very, very specific about the facial emotive effects. He says, come on, it's just next level. Like it's way beyond what they did with Thanos. After he just finished complimenting what they've been doing for the visual effects world, he said, what Weta did here is even way better. It's not even close. And look, I am somebody who has not seen Avatar: The Way of Water yet. But having just watched the trailers, I'm sorry, James Cameron's not wrong. Just from watching the trailers. Like, again, Thanos was a marvel, what they were able to do with Thanos. And he looked fantastic. He looked great. But you're just talking about that one very specific thing that James Cameron's zeroing on, facial emotiveness. While Marvel did great stuff, while ILM did fantastic stuff on Thanos' face for that, even just from the trailers, I can tell what he's doing with the Navi is probably even better. And again, at no time, you know me, I have slammed on James Cameron hard for some of the dumb things he has said. I have been ruthless with him when it comes to some of that stuff. But that's not the case here. He's simply saying, hey, everybody's doing great work, but I think what Weta did with ours is next level, way better than that. I honestly I take no issue with it. As somebody who's taken big issue with the things he has said before, I take no issue with this, and I actually think he's just calling a spade here. We want to thank the sponsor of today's video, True Classic. The holidays are here and there is plenty of t-shirt cheer thanks to our sponsor, True True Classic Tees. Guys, we have the perfect gift for your wish list. True Classic Tees are a gift for you, for her, and a great present for any guy in your life. True Classic is on a mission to maximize men's confidence by making them look good. Get 25% off True Classic with my exclusive link, trueclassic.com/Campea, and the discount doesn't stop there. You'll save even more during their site-wide sale. Guys, like most of you, I have always struggled with finding the right shirts for me. Either they're not all that comfortable or they don't fit me all that right. Well, the best thing is that True Classic's team has designed t-shirts to make guys of all sizes feel confident in their clothing. These shirts taper off towards the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. This is the perfect look that can be achieved by every body type. And they offer other menswear as well, ranging from polos to workout shirts designed to keep your body feeling nice and comfy. So guys, get 25% off at trueclassic.com/Campea. Free shipping included on purchases over $100. That's 25% off at trueclassic.com/Campea. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to read the actual full quote and interview. What's your takeaway from it?
Well, I agree with you because look, he used Thanos is the gold standard, I think, up until this point of the greatest CG character ever done. And the picture we just had up shows how good that face is. But with the Navi, they fill the screen, and you're supposed to believe that you're supposed to see love between these characters. You're supposed to see a father and a son, or a father and a daughter, or a husband and a wife, the emotion between them. If that facial emotion, which is all artificial, that's what he's talking about. That has true joy and wonder on that face. And the thing is, that's just a still frame. And that's underwater. You need to buy off on this as humans. We know what it is like to see true, real emotion in a face. And they have to make us believe for 3 hours that we're watching artificial blue people, that a human audience can connect and feel empathy. That is because you're dealing with the actual psychology of our own brains. And that's not just a special effect, that's a psychological effect as well. Mm-hmm. So that is incredibly difficult to do. And Weta pioneered this all the way back when they were doing Gollum.
Yeah.
You had people like Rhythm and Hughes who did it with animals, but Weta has always been the gold standard for this. And I am sure they've pushed. I regret that there will not be a Cinefex issue on Avatar 2 because Cinefex is no longer with us as a magazine, but that's astonishing.
And one other thing I wanted to point out here too. I don't know if you still have that any of those Thanos images up there, but when you look at Thanos compared to one of the Navi, like we talked about, the uncanny valley becomes much, much easier to navigate the less and less human the subject is, right? A Navi looks far more human-like than, say, Thanos did, which is very clearly very, very, very alien with the big grimace chin and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that you're able to pull off with a much more human-looking face, which our eyes and brain will perceive the uncanny valley a lot more harshly, I think is remarkable. Anyway, Chris, you're looking at this stuff. First of all, did you take Cameron's comments this time as being harsh? Do you think even just drawing a comparison between Navi and Thanos is the wrong? I don't know. What did you take away from it?
I mean, we almost got there. We almost got there with a really delightful, lovely comment. And then it just ended with kind of a backhanded compliment,
Right.
Of just, at best, it's a backhanded compliment of, you guys thought Thanos was good? It looks like dog shit compared to my movie. And I know those aren't his words. I'm exaggerating. But, I think it's great that he at least talked about how these movies, these Marvel movies, these superhero movies, have pushed these things being developed and really done well. I never knew I'd get to see Josh Brolin looking like a date. I'm so excited to see his pruny little face. Good for him. And it is so well done.
You mean as Thanos?
Yeah.
You mean as Thanos, yes.
Yeah. Not in just real life. But to your point, too, about the Uncanny Valley, the way that the Navi are done, too, is just so emotive, so expressive, so lovely. I mean, just the little different flicks of color in their eye and everything that's been done. What has always pioneered this and still incorporated the performer's actual, body and rig that they're doing so well, to the point where Andy Serkis was arguing about how he didn't get nominated for things, where he'd be like, that's my spit. You can tell I'm in this movie. Give me my flowers. But I think people are blowing this out of proportion a little bit with the word slamming. Is it the nicest way he could have said this? No, it could have been phrased a little sweeter, but James Cameron isn't exactly like a softy, sweet boy.
Yeah, and he wasn't at all putting Thanos down. He was
No.
elevating how he thought. And by the way,
he was using it as the gold standard.
Exactly.
Infinity War was in 2018. It was 4 years ago. The technology and the art and the techniques advance. And 4 years from now, Marvel or DC or Star Wars or somebody is going to put out something that far surpasses what's done with the Navi. That's the nature of the art. So, yeah, again, as somebody who was slammed pretty hard on James Cameron, I really don't think there's anything to be
Plus,
negative
he's
about.
promoting his, like, what's he supposed to say? Like, oh, well, my movie that's about to come out and cost me a lot to make, it doesn't look as good as Thanos looked years ago.
And the interviewer specifically asked him the question of comparing it to the Marvel.
He's going to promote
stuff,
his
right?
film.
They specifically asked him that question.
Also, people have to remember that James Cameron himself has been at the forefront of pushing effects research and development for the entire motion picture business since post Aliens. You know, when they did the pseudopod sequence, the water probe that's in the abyss, that technology directly led into the T-1000.
Yep.
And then the Jurassic Park, the ability to do photorealistic dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. So it's Cameron who's always been, he's basically set the task for his effects people. We're going to do something that hasn't been done before. You're going to have to write new software. You're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And all the people, he leads the charge and they have to do this. So Cameron this has been going on for the better part of 30 years now. And Cameron has been the man who has forced all of this stuff into existence.
It kind of feels like Martin talking about House of the Dragon versus Lord of the Rings, right? Rings of Power.
Right.
Of just, hey, isn't it cool that we both can try to make each other better?
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought this was probably, listen, if I'm going to give Cameron all the shit, I'm going to give him kudos. This was the most diplomatic I've ever heard him sound. And I think the comments are perfectly fine. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you make of these comments and these interviews? Whatever you guys thought, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.